Well, here we are again, the Bad Podcast, episode 5. It is October 14th, Saturday, 6:23 p.m., and here we have Conor Glasheen. Is that how I say it?
Yeah, you got it right.
Nice to see you, my friend.
Every other professor.
Conor, good to have
teacher.
you, buddy.
Thanks. Happy to be here. Avid listener joining the show.
That's it. If you keep watching, you might get on. Stay tuned.
Yeah, we just got to keep out for guests like that.
Let's get this puppy started.
Signing us in.
Light up that incense, boy.
Come on, you son of a bitch. Oh, we got to go horizontal. But so, right before we started this podcast, we were having some really interesting conversation. I'd like to hop right back into it. This is really, really important for our Bridgewater friends.
Our local audience here. Some history of the university. Our esteemed former president, Dana Molifaria.
Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, so I don't even really know why he
So
I don't know any of the controversy.
He retired. So he was president here
Just talk a little closer.
at Bridgewater for like 15 years, something like around that.
Yeah.
He was a president for a while. And when he left or when he retired, he had an accrued sick time, unused vacation days. And when you're a higher echelon state employee, because Bridgewater's a state university, you can cash out on those unused sick days and vacation days. And he did. And he got hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is obviously taxpayer money. He didn't break any laws or the rules per se, but it just it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
A state employee getting $500,000.
How long did he take off?
Well, I don't know. He just didn't take there was also a lot of questionable trips Cape Verde. That's why I asked about that a few minutes before we got on. He went to Cape Verde a lot again, but the university has a strong relationship there, and we get a lot of students from there, but. There was just a lot of people who say the optics didn't look good, and then especially Massachusetts, I know all this because I had my internship there, but budget shortfalls where they have our budget, our revenue doesn't catch up to how much the government spends here in Massachusetts, so it just looks bad when a state employee gets all this cash.
Now, where were you working?
So when I was still at Bridgewater, I was it was summer of 2016. I was an intern in Governor Baker's office. So that's where I was for I was there for 7 months. Yeah. So that's where I heard about all this stuff, because you would talk to the other interns that were in the constituent services office, so they get all the angry phone calls, and they'd be like, wait, you were the Bridgewater kid, right? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, people keep screaming at me about your president, what he did. I was just like, oh.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people were angry.
So people around the state knew it?
Yeah, because it was all the local news channels were all on it. That was the first time. Then all those bad news stories about Bridgewater that followed.
Man,
it was one after another. That was the first one that started the chain. It was Dana Molifaria retiring and taking out $500,000 of unused sick and vacation time.
As if Bridgewater doesn't can't use that money elsewhere.
Yeah, and then we definitely could use the money elsewhere.
How about we make a couple scholarships
or
for some of them Cape Verde students,
improve,
the DMF college scholarship,
improve technology department too, or something like that.
And
computers.
he got that science building named after him.
Yeah, I got the beautiful science and math building named after him.
Usually you have to donate money to a university.
And also he gets a pension too.
What?
And a pension for a president for a president of a state university is very hefty. It's more than most people's salaries is his pension.
Wow.
I believe he also didn't totally retire. I think he's an advisor.
Yeah, probably still somehow on the payroll as an advisor.
He makes over $100,000 a year just as an advisor.
So, oh my God.
It just goes to show it's a lot of people, a state employee, people are millionaires, and federal government, senators, congressmen are millionaires. You're just
so he's still pulling
fishy.
300, 350,000
probably
a year.
something like that. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude! Most people never see that in 10 years of work.
I hope this episode makes it out. Bridgewater does not shut us down.
Dude, Bridgewater can't shut us down. This is the internet.
We get raided.
Don't challenge them; they'll try.
Dude, so do you think Fred Clark is corrupt under the surface?
He's a man of the people. I love Fred Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it as we have this uber corrupt figure, and all of a sudden,
I just maybe I'm hopeful. I'm just being naive. He's what, year 2?
Yeah,
being president.
I mean,
I don't know.
So far, I haven't heard of anything overtly shitty that he's done.
Yeah.
You know?
Nothing bad.
Yeah, no, nothing like.
Like I think most people already love him here because he did the 21 and over tent at homecoming because the school's so strict with drinking that he finally someone like showed a little bit of like mercy.
We don't know if it was even directly him that did that though. It could have been any department that throws on homecoming.
It's just a little wink and a nod.
I think the state should like audit every state university to see how much like where our money goes to.
Do they not?
Wow.
No, no.
Really?
No, it's like we can like we can like, but I don't know if that's like something we can request.
Dude,
like,
these are giant businesses.
But like I like think like especially Bridgewater State University should have like a full on state audit to see like how much money the police department gets of like everything.
Dude,
you look at they have a fully like look at all their cars, like they got the new Explorers and everything.
They got drones now.
They got they got the horses, the Clydesdales that like walk through campus.
Dude, you know that they get all the money for parking tickets? Like, why do the cops get parking ticket money?
I've gotten so many parking tickets here.
I don't understand how that works towards the police.
And they get part of they probably get some of the money from what those like fines you do.
Yeah.
Like if you get in trouble for like alcohol in the class you have to take, they probably get some of that.
It's just like this little tumor on the university that's just like growing.
Yeah, and also like I don't know, maybe I don't know how much do professors make here. I wonder because I remember there was like that big thing like was it last year, or 2 years ago, like where like the part-time professors like were gonna get like their benefits cut or something, and like they threatened to like walk out, and like everyone was panicking because our schedules were gonna get messed up.
Dude, we talked about that.
Like I think Bridgewater only has like what 20% of like professors that are like tenured or something. It's like a small number. It's like a really small number.
Yeah, they don't like to tenure professors very often here.
It's like they're all like what they call the adjunct or something professors. That's the fancy word for like part time.
Imagine just that type of work. Like you become a professor because you're the type of person who wants security and like this tenured job, and now you have to fend for yourself every like what was a semester like 4 months.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, am I gonna get rehired? Like,
yeah.
Dude,
no, go on.
No, because then you guys, I think you just had like you guys brought up tenure in one of the episodes, right? You guys were talking about tenure. That was like it has benefits and then like there's cons to it, but definitely it has to be like some middle ground for like the part-time professors. Because I remember like they would talk about it in class. Like remember that Professor Lally that like Mike and I would always talk about that Mike hated. He was one of those like part-time professors because he would go from Bridgewater all the way to Westfield State. He would go back and forth to teach, and Bridgewater and Westfield are in the complete opposite sides of the state. And like he was just like, I don't know if I'll be teaching here next semester. And we're like, oh shit.
How can you do that? Like he must live dead smack in the middle.
I don't remember where he lives, but I remember he was like miserable because he would just have to. His commute was awful.
Dude, Westfield is 2.5 hours from this door.
Isn't it like it's even past like UMass Amherst?
Yeah, it's 30 minutes past Amherst. Oh. It's far out there, dude.
Yeah, on tenure, Professor Lamba was telling me that for the longest time, the school tried to avoid giving him tenure to the point where they even like somehow secured him a job at another university and allowed him to work there as well as Bridgewater in hopes that he would move there so that they wouldn't have to tenure him. And after he had worked there part-time for like 2 years, they were like, so, you think you're going to move over there and work for them? And he was just basically like, no, I'm going to come back and get tenured.
Good. That's such a scummy move. They're like just trying to buy him out because he's a teacher who actively like speaks against the school.
Yeah.
Lamba don't take no shit.
No. And you need those types of people.
And that's what tenure allows. How do you personally feel about tenure? Like you said, there needs to be a middle ground, but
I'm laughing. I was just starting to laugh because I have a story about tenure, but it's from my high school.
Go ahead.
And he was a some of the downfalls of it because he would always tell us because he was this like first year teaching at Severian where I went to high school, it was a Catholic school. And he was like, I'm trying to get tenure, boys. Like, he would remind us all the time about like and how scared he was. And then one day we had like a lab report due, and again this is like our friend Mike McGloin who I went to high school with. He was usually like my lab partner. For some reason he couldn't. Like, we got split up, so I went like on my own, did like my lab report. It was for physics, sent it in, and then the kid I was supposed to be with was sick, so he asked me for my stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, take it. Next thing I know, I get like called to the like dean's office. I'm like, what? And like my physics teacher's there, and like the dean of like academics for Severian's there, and they're like, do you know why you're here? I'm like, no. And then like he like pulls out like the lab reports. It's like, you and I forget the kid's name. It's another kid named Mike. He's like, you guys submitted the same exact lab report. I was like, what? Like, oh, but he was like sick, and like I gave him my stuff so like he could like, you know, get the numbers and stuff because he couldn't rerun like the tests and stuff. He's like, yeah, but he submitted the same exact thing. He just changed the name. And I was like, well, I didn't force him to do it. And I got 6 hours of detention, and that kid got like 12. And then like I was so mad because I was like, I honestly like didn't like think he was gonna submit verbatim my lab report. And then I kid you not, my physics teacher called my house, my home phone, left this big long voicemail to my parents explaining the situation, and he was apologizing. He's like, Mr. and Mrs. Glasheen, I had to do this to Conor because like I need to get tenure, and like I need to be like showing as like a stern teacher, like disciplining my kids. And I was like, fuck tenure if that's what it does to people. Like
literally just threw you under the bus.
Threw me under the bus, and I just spent 6 hours of detention, which for a Catholic school was sitting like down and like staring at like the crucifix, I think, or something like that.
Dude, it wasn't like a Saturday detention?
No, we didn't do like Saturday schools. It was like they called it an hour, so I had like 5 consecutive days, and then like the Monday after, I would just sit for like in the detention room for an hour.
Dude, they used to call those office detentions. Like you could get a 15-minute detention from a teacher, or you could get the hour-long office detention where you just sat outside the front office.
I'm surprised like most like Catholic schools have a funny name for it. Like my brother went to Catholic Memorial. They called it a justice under God, like a jug. There was like like you went to
Cardinal
Spellman, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, one of my buddies, like, speaking of parents calling homes, he had 2 deaf parents, and like he was just like got in a little argument with the teacher, and the teacher's like, Ricky, I'm gonna call your house, and he's like, go ahead, no one's gonna answer. It's like they're both deaf, and the teacher just like blushed so bad.
Oh, that would feel so bad.
Like just called out in front of the whole class.
Dude, it's funny when you see teachers go for that power grab, but then the students, because you don't picture a student to be able to I guess diffuse that situation, but sometimes they're witty, dude. And high school students can be wittier than you expect, and they can just take these teachers for a ride. It's kind of sad to see sometimes.
Can you imagine though if like college professor did that? Like, I'm gonna call your house. Like, I haven't seen your son in my class for months. Like, your parents found out like what you're actually doing in class. It'd be awful.
I legally don't think they can.
I don't think so either.
Really? Oh yeah, if you're over 18.
I didn't read the contract thing. Like when you first get to Bridgewater, all that stuff we had to sign.
Nobody reads.
I just remember because in Wayland we had to like Max P. Quinn, shout out to him in a negative way though.
Dude, do you remember that?
We had to we had to rearrange our whole room. Oh, I hope there's a statute of limitations on drinking stuff in Bridgewater.
Dude, but like, it was so bad because I just all of a sudden get a call. He like interviewed us. He thought we were drinking in our room. He interviewed us all like separately, and then he's like,
we need to explain the context though. It's just people that don't go to Bridgewater to know how strict our school is. So what? It was like one of the first few weeks back, sophomore year.
No, it must have been junior year.
Yeah, first like if you like
it was junior.
A week or 2 back, so like everyone's excited to see each other, and like everyone's like in the dorms drinking and like walking the hallways, going into everyone's new rooms and such. And obviously, everyone's like, taking pictures to put on like Facebook and Instagram. And like weeks went by, nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, like people were getting emails from like the conduct office. So like, what happened? It's because someone took a picture in like one of our rooms, and literally was like in the far distance was like a bottle of like Captain Morgan rum. And like the Max, like the whatever, what do they call it?
I think the person who took it, I won't name him, but they had an RA. Resident assistant friend on Facebook, right. And they sent it.
They told the RD, so the RD started like, because you can tag people in Facebook photos, so he had everybody's name in the photo, so he started pulling people in from all the photos.
Yeah, he's like, I think this is your room.
Yeah, and then he was like narrowing it down. He's like, I can come up to the rooms whenever I want, and like one of our roommates like woke up in a panic. He's like, we need to rearrange the whole room, and like.
No, dude.
You and remember, like you and Mike were like, will they actually do it? And like we took down like posters and like.
Dude, I remember because he interviewed us all, and then Pat's name was actually in the room, so Pat got interviewed last.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then
right.
Pat like he told him he had to go to the bathroom, and he called me. He's like, dude, we're coming up like right now.
Oh,
like,
we went to the girls' room and like dumped stuff in there. Shout out to those girls for helping to save our lives.
I remember I had that. Remember the stool?
Yeah, we had to get rid of the stool and like your little rolling, like your yoga. Like if they see the yoga mat, we're screwed. Like get rid of it.
We literally emptied our room.
We changed like a carpet. Like this is like a university. Like we were it's like hiding from.
They gave me a new comforter to put on my bed. Like we swapped.
Like we went all
everything
out and like
in like 10 minutes.
We got the knock on the door and everyone like remain calm, just like pretend like we were watching TV. And like he comes in, like doesn't even fully walk into our suite really, just kind of like looks around. Probably can already tell that like either the room is not correct or we switched it, and he can't prove anything. He's like, I have all I need, and like left. And we're like, are you kidding me? Like we were all like sweating and like red from like we rearranged beds and like.
Dude, that was stressful because like when he's not the door, you're like, I hope it's all set.
Because yeah, Bridgewater, what's your first offense when you're on campus? Like, you get.
I don't know how.
They bring you to like Brockton Court, right? And like you have to do the class and like the fine.
First offense, you get arrested.
Second, you get like a it's on your right, and then the second offense is lose housing. That's how crazy our school is.
For like a year, right?
Yeah.
And what do you do if you don't live near here?
Some people can't commute. Some people don't have cars. Yeah, you have to transfer to another. Well, you lose out on a semester first, probably because you can't transfer immediately. So yeah, it's pretty stupid.
It is. I remember at orientation hearing. Captain Froyo speaking.
Oh yeah, that big speech.
Yeah, he did a big speech and he was like, listen, like it's a dry campus. We do this because like years ago we had people drinking all the time. Everyone was getting fucked up, and we had like a couple hundred fire alarms pulled in all the residence halls throughout the year. So we adopted this dry campus policy, and that year we had 0 fire alarms pulled. So it works. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yeah, I guess it works in terms of fire alarms, but what about half of your class graduating with criminal records?
Yeah, like if you just remember, I just remember so many kids that I met freshman year when I lived in Shea Durgan that were gone after either one semester. A lot of kids left because they got in trouble, or after that year they had to leave.
Right? Talk about like handicapping your graduating class.
And like and also from like a cynical like point, like all the money Bridgewater's losing out on that tuition money that they won't be getting.
Like I'm trying to get my pistol permit right now, my license to carry, and I have to write this like comprehensive like thing about the time I was arrested.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you. When did you get arrested? Oh wait, freshman.
I was still commuting, dude.
Oh yeah. Jesus.
Do you remember Ian?
I don't know.
Dom's friend Ian?
Yeah, That's
what I got arrested with.
I beat the odds here. Like I remember that Captain Froyo speech, and like you would hear stories from like older kids. You just be like, I'm screwed. Like you're gonna get caught one day. And I somehow, in my 4 years here, there was one close call, but
no,
we've all had our close calls.
Drew and I had a cop encounter last night.
We did. It was actually really funny. There was like unlike most cop encounters here, there was no fear, no stress. Like it was just like when he rolled up on us, I was just disappointed in myself. I was like, oh man, like this is.
Well, there's a seal. There's like a seal statue at the end of the street.
I don't remember. Last time I was there for your birthday, and I drank a lot, so I don't really remember.
But like at the end of Maple, there's a seal, and Drew was just on it, and then I got on it and put it in a jiu-jitsu triangle hold.
We took a picture on it.
Yeah, just fucking around, and then all of a sudden, Drew just gets on his stomach at his longboard and just starts pushing down the street, and all of a sudden, a cop just rolls up right behind us. And I'm just like, Drew.
I think he like pulls me over on the longboard. I pull off to the side of the street.
You did, too.
Yeah, I pull off to the side, and then he was like, listen, man, like that's a funeral home. Be like have some respect. And I didn't realize he was talking about the statue. I thought he was talking about the fact that I like longboarded into the funeral home parking lot. And I was like, man, I had nowhere else to go. You're driving behind me. He was like, no, the statue.
The statue, the seal's at the funeral home?
I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's weird.
It's like this seal is for the children of Bridgewater. Like, what?
I don't know what church that is. The Church of the Immaculate Seal?
Yeah, and it's like, it's just like a...
It's weird.
Statue of a seal.
Understand.
I always called it the town seal.
Town seal.
But dude, back to the fire alarm thing. Where you have like Bridgewater stating that the dry campus policy just reduces crime on campus. I think they're right about that, but it just pushes the quote crime off campus.
Yeah.
Like they're still arresting probably the same amount of students, but it's happening off campus, so it looks better on paper for BSU, but I feel like it makes the town hate the college kids.
Dude, absolutely, because everyone's going like, say you're walking to this place, like people got to pee when you're drinking, so everyone's pissing in neighbors' yards all along the thing. And all the old, like, Bridgewater has a lot of older residents, and, like, they all get pissed.
Yeah, and it sucks that, like, because a lot of people, like, that live in, like, the actual town of Bridgewater, they do hate, like, the university for those reasons. Like, it sucks because like the town could like benefit so much from like the school, like, you know, like certain types of business they could like open up, but like Bridgewater, the town's still like they don't let there's what
It's
how
a
many
funny
there's
spot.
like it's how many like there's like 3 bars here. It's not like most college towns like
Right.
where there's like it's like catered to the university or college that's in there. Like it's weird.
Dude, I feel like what we're seeing is a blossoming city. Like we're like right now we're like there's tons of rural pushback because it's super like
yeah, because you're right. There are a lot of like
quiet.
older people. It's like once
Yeah.
like they either you know move out or like go to retire somewhere else or you know they die out to put it bluntly. Like yeah, I feel like a lot of people will stay near because it's still pretty close to Boston. You have the commuter rail right there. If like you do
Right off
like,
the highway.
So like maybe like in a few years like it will start to change. But
Yeah.
it still get that small town feel.
Yeah.
But like especially the center, like it's just like very quiet. There's
especially
woods
if like
there,
Bridgewater like keeps blowing up like with like you know how many students they get and like you know get more dorms and stuff.
Yeah, they're slowly scrubbing that out.
Yeah, because I heard did they buy that like open lot by the train tracks? I heard the one that's next to Spring Lot across
I
from the
believe
Welcome
they
Center.
might have. I know that BSU has a huge acquisitions department and in like a future development department, and they just go out into the town looking for land to buy. And as soon as someone sells it, like the university just snatches it up. Even if they don't need it yet, they know that it'll come in handy one day to have that plot off campus. Like that house near the Maxwell Library. It was this old house from like the 1800s. It was beautiful. And as soon as the guys moved out, BSU bought it and they just like flattened it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing because obviously they have to plan to expand if they want to maintain being a good university. I just think it's funny that like you literally get to watch it over the time we're here. We've seen so many of the like older structures kind of just erased and expanded into like the Welcome Center. There used to be like 3 houses on that street and now it's just this huge building.
that's pretty useless. I feel like that is like a really useless build. Like there's financial aid in there.
I think that was the best because like the financial aid office used to be like in the basement of like Tilly and like it sucked. So at least like I guess that was like an improvement and just it looks like a nice building I guess for like the parents to like see when they drop off.
I've never seen a more useless build. Like there's nothing in there.
I've been in there twice. Once because like I had to like drop off some check or something for like financial aid and then I had to go back to like discuss my financial aid for when I studied abroad because there's something I had to do there. So like I went in there twice. I don't know what like any of the other offices are there for or like what you do. If like probably that's like where the tours start is the Welcome Center.
The space in that building is vastly underused.
Yeah, it's always been like empty. Anytime I've gone in, I just go straight up the stairs, like over to the left side of the building for financial aid. Everything else is like quiet and like there's weird like sculptures everywhere. And that's about it.
Just empty space.
Yeah, they need like more modern classrooms. I remember like when it's hot out and like you have a class in like what Burnell, Hunt,
I think has some ACs.
Boyden. Oh, it would be miserable. Just invest in new buildings or just invest in AC. Oh yeah, Bridgewater's an old school. 1840 when this school started, and Bridgewater's already an old town. So like all the buildings are like historic, like over 100 years old.
It's a cool town though. I've really enjoyed my time here because it's you can get that like that old timey feel for the town as you walk around. Like you just see things that you know have been there for hundreds of years.
I didn't appreciate it when I was here. Now that I'm like graduated and left Bridgewater, I look back and I'm like, damn, like I should have, and especially be like not in college anymore. Just like, why didn't I do more? Why didn't I just like?
What do you mean by do more?
I don't know. Just like enjoy. Like it's because I graduated from Bridgewater and now I have a job in Boston. And it's just like part of like going to the real world. It just like kind of hits you like this is the next 50 years of my life.
Wow.
Dude,
You don't gotta look at it like
Well,
that.
not like that one job, but like, you know,
Work.
day in, day out, 9 to 5.
What is your current job like?
I work in Boston at a consulting firm called PCG. I don't say like I hate it, but like I think it's just because it's my first job, and like I just said, for those reasons, like it's a big adjustment, like coming out of college, going into your first like full-time job, kind of just like coming to like grasping that kind of like idea that this is it. But it has its pros and cons. Like I'm learning a lot, and I don't like plan on being at this company forever. Like I hopefully like one day I can get to a job which I like enjoy and like what I want to get to. So like take as much out as I can and like build up my resume basically. But I don't know. Sometimes it can be pretty excruciating. It's like a typical office job. It's at a cubicle.
Is it just like soul grinding?
It's kind of It's just like I do like it's like even explaining it just sounds awful. Asset verification consulting. So all of like my company's clients are like states or like cities, and like they're Medicaid agencies, and like they hire us to develop this like system, basically this like web application that like it's kind of cool. If like the way I'll explain it is like people that are applying to get like Medicaid benefits, we through that application, like any bank account that their like social security numbers attached to, we can track down and send back to the state to show them how much money they have. So that's what we do. We just basically
asset verification.
We grab all this data, like we grab their like property information, like see how much their house is worth if they have a house and stuff like that. How much, like we can find all their like checkings and savings accounts.
Can you find anything like international, or is it just like?
No, we can't. I think it's like only Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands. But no, we can't like find a Swiss bank account if someone does. I doubt like most people are pretty honest with like, because before like this had like some law that was passed, like see if I remember from my training at my work, it's like section 1940 of like the Social Security Act like requires states to do this now. So it's not like we're not like an evil company trying to like go out and like steal people's benefits away. It's like required now. It's kind of just like to make sure that like everybody that is on Medicaid is like supposed to be on it.
Oh, okay.
It's like before, like say like you were applying for Medicaid, you go into the office, you apply, and they'd be like, okay, please like disclose like your financial statements, and like it would be on you to disclose all that. Like it was like the honor system basically. You're like, all right, this is my checking, my savings account. They would have no way of knowing if you had like another checking account at like Bridgewater Savings. Now we find that and send it back to the state for them to look at. But it is kind of scary to know that
you can't hide.
I can like find that. Yeah, we can find like everybody's information.
That's insane.
That's wild to think of.
Yeah.
Now go on.
The one part I do like about my job though is I get to travel a lot. Like
you do.
Yeah,
You're always going places.
I'm going to Georgia in 2 weeks. I'm spending like 4 days in Savannah, Georgia, which I'm like pumped about because I'll have like free time and it's a pretty historic city. And then I got to go to New York City November 1st, and I'm pumped because I haven't been to New York City since I was like 8, and I want to like explore too. Yeah, but I've been like all over. I had to drive like the boondocks of like Maine. I was up in like Machias, Maine, which is like 30 minutes from like the Canadian border.
Whoa.
And then I've been to DC. I've been to where else? Shit, can't even remember now.
Company car?
Colorado. No, I wish, but I can rent cars, and then I get to expense all this stuff, which is nice because you kind of panic when you're like, because I have to like pay out of pocket initially for like plane tickets and all this stuff, and you're like, holy shit, I'm like dropping so much money. But then you submit your expense report, and hopefully everything gets approved.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, because sometimes they can be like, hey, you went a little like, you went to this steakhouse and spent $90. We're not approving this.
This is $20.
I only did that one. Oh, Maryland. I did that in Maryland, but it wasn't 90. It was like 70, and they still gave me my money back.
Nice.
You're like with this hooker. Like, okay, baby, it's fine. Put it on my expense account.
Stress relief.
Like order whatever you want off the menu. It goes on the account.
That would definitely be a fireable offense. If I ever go to Las Vegas, I don't know. Maybe it's the one place where it's legal.
Hot topic, Vegas.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
What is your take on the whole
dark
situation?
Turn. I don't know. I think everyone thinks I'm pretty conservative, but here I guess is where I'm pretty liberal. It's like every single like law in our Constitution has been like updated, or like the interpretation has changed to like fit modern times, but the like Second Amendment, like it needs to be. I think it even says like it does say like well regulated in the actual, like it says that in the wording. So like if you look at everything that's happened, like how many mass shootings have we lived through where they've said this is the worst in U.S. history? Like
a lot.
5, like almost something like that. They like Columbine, and then like what it was.
Sandy Hook.
No, Virginia Tech, then Colorado, then Sandy Hook. Now this, like 60 people.
It's crazy.
Me like extreme, like kind of like my extreme view is this like take everyone's gun away, but then I know that's like impossible. I think something does have to change.
My problem is that the people who make the laws don't know anything about guns. Like in Massachusetts, you can't have a gun that holds more than 10 bullets unless it's made before like 1984, I think. But dude, like the guy who did Sandy Hook, that was like enacted after the Sandy Hook shooting, like because it's like large capacity magazines. Meanwhile, he was using like large capacity magazines, but he wasn't even. He was all of his magazines that he dropped. He hadn't even shot half of the bullets in. So like, how does that like? It's just all just super like.
What's that like thing? Like they call like the bump stock thing. I don't know any. I don't. Do you know my family does. Is? I know it's like something that can turn to like what a semi-automatic.
Yeah, just
gun
like allows almost the gun to move a little bit. So you just keep your finger where the trigger would be, and then the gun just bounces. So that like you keep pulling the trigger. Like the recoil of the gun makes it automatic.
So is there any like, I don't know if benefits, right? Like why would someone need to have a bump stock? Other than like doing what Stephen Paddock did,
enjoyment.
I don't know. I know Massachusetts is the House of Representatives in Mass just passed a law banning it here.
Such a knee-jerk reaction.
But if you look at it before Vegas, I saw some report where like if you wanted to buy a bump stock, it was like $70 or something now, but now it's like $1,500 because they know.
Really?
Yeah, they've jacked up the prices for bump stock because they know.
But there is people who just want to use it for recreation.
I don't know. It's probably one of the most complicated issues in the U.S. because so many people, so like both sides feel so like we're having a civil conversation about it, but most people like start screaming about this. Yeah. Like they so cannot remain civil about.
Because you're generally more conservative and we're generally more liberal. But
it's so we're switched. It's so weird.
Totally opposite. Yeah. Like Drew and I are much more.
My dad gets so mad at me when like he's just like, oh, he calls me like a rhino. He's like because my dad like used to be like a state trooper from New Hampshire, and he's all about like. I think he's like trying to like get his like renew his license because it expired a long time ago. But like, yeah, he gets so mad at me when I start talking about this. Because I guess I'm just one of the people that's like fed up seeing it on the news like every other month. It seems something like this happens. I don't know. I guess more like my argument's based more off emotion. I guess that's why.
Yeah. Mine's more like a very middle ground stance where I never feel like the outright outlawing or banning of a certain gun, magazine or type is really, I mean, I see like what the motive is. I never feel like it's wholly beneficial. I would love to see like really harsh and stricter, not gun laws and bans, but background checks and all the checks and balances required to get a gun, which in more than half the states there's essentially nothing. You know, I feel like that's the first area where we have to focus, is making sure that like crazy people aren't just like going and getting guns. Like there was this bank around the time of the Columbine shooting where you could go in and open this bank account, and if you opened a bank account at this bank, they would give you a gun. It was like a deal, and you didn't have to get a background check or anything. You just open an account, and they were like, all right, here you go, and they would give you a gun in a bank. They would hand it to you.
How long ago was this?
This was around Columbine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's like I know someone that bought a car up in Maine, and they got a shotgun with the car. It's like it's also weird. Like everyone thinks like the gun right thing is like it's like a regional thing. It's like it's the South, you know, like Texas and stuff. But it's like New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont. Yeah, they're all like it's like, you know, because there's a big hunting culture up there too.
We're living in one of the strictest gun.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, my dad,
in
Mike,
the country,
because he was applying too. I heard it's a process here in Massachusetts. I don't know anything about.
I feel like rightfully so. I feel like it should be a process to get, but I feel like once you've gone through the necessary checks and balances, then just like restricting like, all right, you can get a gun, but you can't have this accessory, you can't have this, that. I feel like you're just grasping for straws at that point, because how much can you really save by stopping someone from having like, I don't know, like a couple extra rounds versus just like letting someone have the gun in the first place that shouldn't be having it.
Like the number one thing with gun safety is proper storage. Like I heard a like statistic that I think is 90% of like gun like misfires and accidents happen in administrative maintenance of them. So they like people just don't know, and like when they're cleaning it, it'll go off or something. But the Sandy Hook shooter, like he was actually going through like shooting therapy, like with his mother,
like to like gun ranges and stuff.
Yeah, and like she didn't like adequately keep them locked up.
She just kept them in like a cabinet.
Yeah, so he was able to get them.
Yeah,
like in therapy, clearly not stable enough to have. They would never give him a gun. Yeah. It's not his fault. It's like in Massachusetts, you are responsible for every single bullet that comes out of your gun. If I lose my gun and John Smith down the street kills somebody with it, my fault.
Yeah.
Massachusetts is hardcore on this shit.
Yeah.
Like there's isn't there like a lot of taxes like on ammunition here too?
Oh my God, yeah. And there's just like, they don't understand, like I said, it's just people who don't know guns are making these laws, like hollow point bullets. Like the whole thing with hollow point bullet is that it has more like stopping power because it doesn't penetrate as deep because it just like flares right immediately. So like if you're defending yourself in your home and you shoot somebody, like if you're using a round bullet, it's going to go right through that person. It's actually more dangerous. If you use a hollow point, it's going to generally stop in that person.
I guess that's also why my viewpoint's so different, is because I live in Medfield, which is a very, upper middle class white suburban neighborhood. I've never felt unsafe, and I understand like not everywhere is like that. Some people don't feel safe and they feel the need to have a gun. So like I said, it's like one of the most complicated issues.
So your dad's a state trooper. Have you
was
grown up around?
He was, yeah.
Have you grown up around guns?
No, because when my parents got married, or like part of like the deal was that he'd stop being a state trooper, or like either he agreed, because I guess like his argument was like being a state trooper or a police officer that matters, it's tough like to raise a family on. So he stopped. I don't know how many years exactly he was a state trooper, but then he just let his license expire. Not for any reason. I just think it happened, and then he always said he regretted it, but now he's like finally starting up the process. I think he wrote his letter or whatever, because I think you have to explain the reasons why you want it, and like you have to write something about it. So he's starting up again. But my buddy, I've been to a gun range before and shot a gun, and it's like fun and like I don't know if that's
in
right.
a primal way.
Yeah, like kind of just like I grew up watching all those like James Bond movies and stuff. Like I mean, I admit that's what I was like thinking about, like Indiana Jones. Like like that's the gun like James Bond used in this movie. Like, can I shoot this one? And I did that, but I didn't. I'm not a hunter either. Like I have no desire to go out and hunt. I couldn't do that.
Like I'm just thinking like if I'm camping in the woods, like I told the story about how Chris and I had that bear encounter.
You did?
Yeah.
When did you have a bear encounter?
I think it was like 2 years ago. We were.
Shit, that would freak me out.
Yeah, but if I had a pistol, like game changer. Like all of a sudden I'm not.
See again, I'd be an idiot and be like, I'm not gonna shoot. Like I couldn't shoot a bear. Like I'd probably let him. Like I'm weird with animals. It's like it's like I picture like my dog and everything. I was like, I can't shoot him. Like, I'm not gonna shoot.
As he's like coming at you.
Yeah, like he'll stop. Like
no,
like, down boy, down.
Yeah, exactly. Sit. Hey, I have a cookie. He just bites my arm off.
See, deer season starts Monday.
Oh, does it?
And I'm ready to shoot a sharp stick.
Oh, that's what you were doing. Like you were setting up something up in like the trees with
I was helping my grandfather set up his.
See, I'd be an awful hunter. Like my dad. Like if my dad, I could just like picture like my dad taking up me hunting. He's like, "Go ahead, Conor, shoot it." I'm like, "I can't." You'd be pussy.
See, you gotta look at it like you can't just look at it like, oh, they're soft furry animals. Like,
well, yeah,
you
it's
don't
like
regulate
population
them.
control.
Yeah, all of a sudden deer, like people start hitting deer like crazy because there's so many of them. Or like if there's so many bears, like all of a sudden there's no more deer, and all of a sudden like I don't know, like the food that they eat, like whatever deer.
I could shoot maybe like bird, like a pheasant, like ducks. Maybe that's about as much as I can do.
Yeah, lower animals.
Yeah, so I wouldn't feel too guilty. Because I have a big dog, Bernie's Mountain Dog, and it kind of looks like a bear. So I guess that's why I can't. Mm-hmm. The bigger, like a moose, I couldn't kill a moose either. That's too cool.
What about an elephant?
No, the elephants are that's fucked up. No.
What about an endangered rhino?
No.
What about a human intruder in your house?
Most dangerous game? I could hunt human beings in a fucked up way. Dude, I hope this doesn't come back to haunt me, but like I read that book in high school and it was just like
you got a thrill.
Just like just like kill like criminals, just like instead of like we could just make the system so much easier, just put them in like a maze and just have a few hunters go after them. Just like the most awful people, like rapists, let's like just make their last moments on earth hell. Yes, like a little of my dark side just came out. A little bit of my dark side just came out there.
I love it, dude. But like that is something that is like really hits home with me. Is that people are more willing to kill humans than animals? Because my grandfather, he's hunted his whole life, and so that tree stand that was on my Snapchat story last year, as he was climbing into the tree stand, he there's one 2x4 where you pull yourself up into it, and his tree stand's like 25 feet off the ground, and someone had loosened the board. And so when he grabbed onto it,
remember you telling us about this.
He went backwards and he fell and
really,
hit him. Yeah, he almost died.
Yeah, because he was like in the middle of the woods by himself. I remember you telling me about this.
And he had to basically pull himself out of there like with a stick, and then you don't like people killing animals, so you'd rather kill a person. Your logic there is just I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I feel like a bad person now.
Well, I see.
I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking that asshole who did that. Because, dude, 2 weeks later, a fireman in Holbrook fell out of his tree stand and someone had taken bolts out of it.
Was it, you think it's some like deliberately like messing around, like some maybe like douche kid like going around like, oh, let's
I think
fuck
it's someone
with
who
this?
don't like hunt. I think it was a planned attack against a hunter.
Oh, like those, like the crazy like animal rights people,
Yep.
kind of. I could see, especially in Massachusetts. I actually could see
Exactly,
that happening.
dude. Because that's you park right along the edge of the street, so everybody knows that you hunt in there.
There's some like the people that like throw fake blood at people and stuff like that. Yeah.
And meanwhile, like you're about to kill the most like altruistic person I've ever met. Like if there's a person, if you're like if you crashed in a snowstorm and like it's midnight, my grandfather's the one who's gonna pull over and help you, and like that's the guy you're gonna kill because you don't like. It's just.
It's backwards logic, and I totally understand the logic of people being against hunting because it's easy to be like, why would you kill something when you can go to the supermarket and buy the food there? But the way I've always seen it is, dude, factory farm conditions are more brutal than any hunter like shooting a deer in the woods that you could ever imagine. Like, like a cow being raised in a cage, only not even big enough for it to move around its entire life.
That's also like a U.S. phenomenon. Like the way like our processed foods and like the chemicals that are all in it.
Yeah, like if you're gonna eat meat but be against hunting because of the ethics, then your logic is backwards.
Dude, look at the good days to bad days ratio in that life of the animal. A factory farm animal spends its whole life in a box. It can't turn around. It can't like run. It's standing in its shit all day. And this deer mates multiple seasons, lives a long life, and then one day someone shoots it and it's dead in 2 minutes.
I guess it's also because Disney movies, like I saw Bambi and stuff, and I can't
Dude, that was literally conditioning.
I know Disney. Disney has been like accused of stuff like that before. It makes sense.
At the same time, I feel like that's, in a weird way, I feel like us characterizing nature, like caricaturizing nature, is exactly what nature expects of us in a weird way, because like we're so conscious and so intelligent that like when we do that shit, like that is how we come to help nature and come to like want to preserve nature, because we see ourselves in the animals.
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting thought. Dude, complete topic changer, but one thing I wanted to mention earlier too, I didn't realize your dad was a state trooper. Mine was as well.
He was? Oh, wait, no, I think I remember this. Yeah, my dad went to Northeastern criminal justice, and then he started, like, the way he found out about my hometown is, like, I don't know what the exact word they call it, but he kind of, like, that's how he started in, like, the Medfield Police Department, kind of, like, got trained there, and then got a job up as a state trooper in New Hampshire. And like, because we go up there a lot for like skiing. I was just there last weekend for Oktoberfest at Loon Mountain. Every time we drive up, he's like, he'll point out his old spots. He's like, I had a speed trap right there. And I'm like, you bastard. Because if you drive up to New Hampshire, like you see them all the time hiding, the New Hampshire state troopers hiding everywhere. And
that's the place to be a state trooper, dude.
Yeah, he has some weird stories about the people in New Hampshire's like a weird phenomenon in New England. It's like
it's so weird. It's like super like liberal and also super conservative.
It's like the people that live there too are so distinct. Like in like a good, like I love New Hampshire. Like, it's just like it's so like New Hampshire's is
it's a different spot,
it's a different. It's like kind of like redneck almost in a way, in certain ways, like you said. But then it's liberal in another way. It's funny. He has some weird stories about like people like up in like living way up in the mountains, like crazy people that but like. Like, you know, just like again, have like an arsenal and like be shooting like stuff like a cannon out of like their backyard. And my dad be like, all right, come on, like Jimmy, like this is like an artillery like thing from like World War II. You cannot like
it's my
fire.
Recreation.
You cannot fire like shells into like the valley. And it's like this toothless man. Meanwhile, I was like, what do you mean I can't do this?
Dude, there was this guy that was a friend of my dad's. I won't name him, but when I was really young, my dad took me over to his house, and he was talking to me. He was like, hey kid, you want to see something cool? And me, my dad, and this dude go into his basement, and he's got this like huge safe, like not like a standing gun safe, like a vault, like built into his house, like a walk-in. Like you can actually open the safe door and walk in, dude.
Be trapped in it.
And wow. So he spins the dial and opens it up, and it was the biggest arsenal of weapons that I've ever seen in my entire life. The dude had hand grenades.
Wow.
This is in Massachusetts, dude. He wasn't supposed to have these, but
Jesus.
he had like hand grenades like hanging on like nails in the wall. They were like probably like a couple of them just like lined up. He had these huge rifles, like full auto guns.
He's just ready for the end of like the apocalypse. He's just ready either for like the next civil war or the apocalypse. He's just prepared.
But a part of me is not ready to let go of guns for that reason.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot. I guess like it's just in our psyche as Americans, like just you mistrust. Like I just don't have that, and like I don't ever think like there'll be another like something like that happening in our country where like the government would like become tyrannical. But that's just me.
I totally disagree.
You disagree?
I totally see the apocalypse coming, dude.
Actually, I don't know.
Trump.
I'll just be well, I guess, yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
How do you feel about the current administration?
Oh, God.
You are like, honestly, like I very much look to your opinion a lot because like you very much know politics and like.
Yeah, so I am a registered Republican, but I did not vote for Trump. I was one of the people that voted for Gary Johnson. After this election really kind of just threw like, like who I was like before this, I'd say like I was definitely like, I believed in everything. I was like, oh yeah, like, I had like, my list of favorite presidents, and like presidents like could never like, they always are like good people, and like, everyone has like their good and bad sides. But like this completely like turned everything I believe about like the federal government upside down. Like I have no faith in the system whatsoever anymore. I've given up on like Congress too. I'm just like it's just embarrassing, I think.
You don't like the president of the Virgin Islands?
No, I'm not a fan of the president of Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands or Guam. Any of those goddamn bastards.
Did you see the video of him like
yeah,
throwing paper towels like it's a free throw?
I also kind of like I kind of wish I like kind of worked for him just because I could help, like, because I watched the news. Like I used to never be one of those people that screams at the TV at the news, sports, or anything. I would just watch it. I never understood why people would yell at the TV. I am now one of those people who's like, it's just like in my mind, it's like because I studied political science, and like that's how kind of I think. I'm like, he needs somebody to like kind of just like.
Because Trump needs to beat Trump.
He has no filter.
Like,
he like refuses. Like he thinks it's like a sign of weakness if he has someone like write his speeches or like craft his like message. But like he like that all the flack he got for saying like Hurricane Maria was no way as bad as Katrina. Remember he's like said that he's like you only had a few people die. Like Katrina, like thousands of people died. And he's like, there's a way of saying that better. You could have just been like. Hey, look, like the federal government has gotten better with our response since Katrina because. Look what happened there, like the massive flooding, like
died,
literally like a few, like over 1,000 people, I think, ended up being killed by that. And there's still not even, like, a lot of people got displaced. You could just be like, we've gotten better. But he literally was just like, hey, like, be happy.
Like, you call that a hurricane?
Like, stop complaining. Like, you're just like, come on, dude. Like, I just always shake my head and I'm just like, I cannot believe he just said that. I don't know. I just think it's embarrassing. Like, I didn't agree with President Obama most of the time, but like, he never like embarrassed me. Like, I was never.
He was well spoken.
I was like, he would never do something, but like I would be like, oh, obviously I disagree or something with what you're doing, but like I never felt ashamed. I guess is the right word. But like him, like Trump, it's just like, dude, like, I could say it. We could do many podcasts just dedicated to.
Fuck you, Trump.
Do you think he'll make it 4 years?
Yes.
I think so too.
I didn't think so at first, but I think he's gonna have no problem now.
I think I think he still has even a decent chance of getting reelected if he wants to, because I think the opposition is just going about it the wrong way with him.
Where's the wall?
Like, yeah, I doubt like half the things he ran on are actually going to happen. Like, but the more like the people are like hysterical about him, like the people are like, think he's gonna like the end of the world basically, and all those people like, every little nitpicky thing they like jump on him on, it's just only gonna piss off the people that voted for him, and they're just gonna go right back to him.
Who's gonna run against him? Who's gonna run against him next term? What's your guess?
Kamala Harris.
I don't know who that is.
She's a California senator.
Do you like her?
I don't really know much about her. I know she just got elected 2014. So if she gets to 2020, be one full term, but she's young, she's a woman, and she's well spoken and stuff, and she's starting to like do stuff to get attention. Like she's proposing a bill for like Medicare for all, which will never happen in this country, which is like, that's basically like, like a European almost kind of health insurance system, which will never happen in this country. But it's just to get attention. She's trying to, get, her news cycles in. I think Elizabeth Warren might run, but I don't think she'll.
I'm really not a fan. I don't think she's like very polar at all. She's like kind of just
very divisive. No, I think she's like that. I disagree with her like 98% of the time. I don't think she's a bad person, but I think if she is like the Democratic nominee, I think Trump wins 100%.
Yeah, you can't.
He will stomp her.
Yeah. She's like another Hillary, but less corrupt.
She's a weaker Hillary.
Exactly, dude. She's a beta Hillary.
Dude, that beta alpha distinction is so funny because it just proves that we still have that little dominance,
dude,
like primal.
Trump took over the alpha position of the Republicans. Like they all just wanted to be professional. And he just
the debates were comedy.
Them, dude. Wrong.
And then, yeah, I know exactly. You're just like, and then like you would just start laughing, and then you're like, he's not gonna win. So it's just funny. And I remember that's when I was studying abroad during the Republican primaries, and I was just like, I would just laugh because like I was like, it's funny, but he won't win.
What did he call Jeb?
Low energy Jeb. No, it wasn't low.
A mess.
It was lying Ted, little Marco for Marco Rubio.
Dude, he throws memes. I'm telling you.
He does.
Yeah, and it was just like remember Jeb Bush was like everyone thought he was going to be the nominee, and like he's got it set. He's had a father, his brother. He's got massive donor base, and everyone thought he had it sewn up, and it's just like Trump, the wild card, just like not even out of like reasons you shouldn't vote for a person, it's like by policy. It's just because he was like just embarrassed by Trump. You just like made him look so bad.
Yeah, he made people timid around him. Like, look at how nervous Trump made Marco Rubio. Did you ever watch the debate where Marco Rubio just like repeated himself?
He just shut down. Like, I felt bad because that's who I voted for in the primaries, and like I remember watching that like the next day because I couldn't watch anything live, and I remember watching that the next day. I'm like, oh, there he goes. Because that's who I always thought was like a young, Hispanic, senator from Florida. Like that would be like the best chance they have of winning.
He was promising. He was, and I'm not like a Republican, but he was a very promising Republican candidate, and Trump just
Trump's
just a businessman. He's just not afraid to like.
He has that alpha. Yeah, definitely has like, he has to crush. Like not only he has to beat people, he has to crush them.
Yeah,
and that's what now he's turning on his own. Like now in Congress, he's turning on Republicans now. Like he's saying the Senate Majority Leader should resign. He's like that Bob Corker guy because he's a senator from Tennessee and he's decided that he's done. He's like, I'm not running for re-election. So now he has no filter because he's like, I don't have to care about getting money from donors. I don't have to care about pissing everybody off. And did you see that interview he gave at the New York Times where he's like, he called the White House an adult daycare center. And he said like Trump is like teetering on the edge of starting World War III.
He is though.
And he's the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee of the United States Senate. And he said that. And it's just like, holy, we're not even halfway through his president. We haven't even got to the 1 year mark.
I am not a fan of Trump, but I think that the position that he's in, he is capable of being simultaneously the best and the worst president of all time.
Yeah, I tried to I remember when he won and like he was getting, I started to rationalize, like trying to think of like stuff that he could do that would be good. Like again, like someone like that, Congress, like the whole system is broken. Like we were talking about before we started, like how many congressmen and like senators are like millionaires and like they don't know like anything about like the everyday like American. And like Trump was kind of, again, like he was nobody. He grew up a millionaire, like his father was a millionaire and he's a millionaire. He probably had never struggled a day in his life, but he somehow had the pulse of like the country and like everyone, like he was saying stuff like no one's hasn't.
I think it was just raw. It just felt raw and like unfiltered.
Yeah, but then he did stupid stuff like attack that Mexican judge and like, dude, like what? Like I would love just like the like his, if I could get into his head and like his internal thought process about like how he thinks, what he says. Like I'm gonna go from having some good ideas to attacking some guy just because he's a Mexican and I don't think he can be a good judge. Like
Trump is just pure chaos.
Yeah,
like there's no rhyme or reason. There's no logic in there.
And it's definitely interesting about all like the like history books are going to be like think about this time because I remember because again when I was at school, like all the political science professors I had, because was my major, they were all amazed. They're like, he has gone like everything you need to do to win the presidency he didn't do, but he still won. Like he had like no ground game, they call it. Like he didn't really have campaign offices. Like if Hillary Clinton, she had thousands of campaign offices. He probably had a few hundred. he didn't get a lot of money at first, and like Hillary did, and then he did awful in the debates. And you're supposed to, like, if you want to win, you at least have to win one of the debates, and he didn't win any of them, and he still won. But then he didn't win the popular vote, which is another thing.
Yeah.
The Electoral College, what do you think about that?
Dude, I don't know, because I think that has good parts and bad parts. Because it could have kept Trump out of office.
That was its whole design. You could argue was supposed to keep out people like him.
Yeah.
Because the founding fathers, like, everyone thinks they're like very enlightened people, but they did not trust the average person. That's why they created the Electoral College.
Dude.
No, that the mob mentality. No.
I think that the root problem is money in politics.
Yes, I agree.
Dude, on the Electoral College too, our boy Colin Loftus actually brought up a really good point, because I was really against the Electoral College for a while. And basically what Colin said that changed my mind was that, yes, the people should have the power, but even the founding fathers realized that Jethro, from like farmer in the middle of nowhere who's completely uneducated, might not, or maybe shouldn't have as much of a voice as like an educated person in the choosing of our leader. Which, like, it sounds really fucked up, but at the end of the day, you think like he's right,
Dude, like, if you think about it, like, what is the average American? Like, we probably all fall around like a little bit above the average bell curve. That means that
Shout out to Massachusetts there. That's
yeah,
why.
because we're in Massachusetts,
we're northeastern elitists.
Yeah, literally, we're literally Yankees, like, so bad. But like, the average person is just not. They're not in college learning all this stuff. They're not exposed. They're literally, dude, I do not trust true democracy one bit.
No,
because
yeah,
it's
no.
literally just
Chaos.
The next greatest orator, like, comes in and just whips up the crowd just like Trump did. But somehow he also, like, caught the college. I don't know how. What do you think about it? What's his Rex Tillerson and his?
Oh,
I feel bad for him. He definitely regrets saying yes.
Think
and
so?
I think he hates it. He's like, if you kind of like know anything about him, he's kind of like he's old South, kind of very reserved, like very formal. And did you see that story about the other day that like all these people coming out like that were witnesses? Apparently, he called Trump a moron. Like, he lost his temper. Like, he just lost it. I think there was some meeting in the Pentagon about, I think it was about the nuclear arsenal and how they were, Trump, wants to like either modernize it and like, kind of maintain it and maybe even expand it. And I guess Tillerson like lost his. I don't think he said it to his face, but I think he went to his own staff and was like, he's a complete moron. And Trump being Trump, like, of course he heard about it because he watches like TV all the time, and like he heard about it, and he came out with like a press statement saying like, he literally said like, oh, if we take an IQ test, like Rex and I, like, I guarantee you I'd be number, like, again, like just like primal, like God. He has to be the best, and he has to. And he said it about his own Secretary of State. So then reporters are like, wait, so why did you pick Rex Tillerson if you don't think he's smart? And like, again, this all goes back to like how he doesn't think about what he's saying. But I think he's miserable, and he will not stay as Secretary of State for full 4 years.
My hippie like conspiracy theorist thing is like, oh my God, CEO of Exxon.
See, that's
like,
he's
ruling
like,
from behind the scenes.
When he was Exxon Mobil and like all the relationships he had with Russia, and you're like, okay, like he's just gonna be like a buddy of Trump. Apparently, has not been a good working relationship.
Wow,
dude, I feel like Rex Tillerson's initial plan was basically to just lead from behind the scenes, like you said, because I mean, there's no way that the CEO of ExxonMobil leaves to be the Secretary of State. Is that what he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, leaves to be the Secretary of State unless he knows that he's going to get something out of it. So, like, my initial idea was, like, he's just going to basically pull Trump's puppet strings from behind the scene, and Trump will be the showman, while Rex Tillerson, the big money man, just, like, calls all the shots from behind.
Yeah, because he had that... Rex Tillerson got like the friendship medal from Russia, and like Vladimir Putin himself like gave it to him. So like, like all those, already the Russian like conspiracy like stories with like Trump, and then he picks this guy that's like best friends with Vladimir Putin. You're just like everyone's like, what's going on here? But I don't know. I don't see him staying for 4 years. I think he'll give it a year, because like that can be respectable. Like, you were Secretary of State for a year, but I do not see him staying.
Dude, I think that Trump seems to have a particular affinity for Putin, but Putin is just playing him, dude.
If you like watch I thought we'd have like already a better relationship with Russia, because it's the same thing. They liked each other, But unless something's happening behind the scenes that we don't know about, nothing's changed. It's maybe even gotten worse since because remember that, like, people have already forgotten because so much happens with Trump, but when he launched the missiles in Syria,
Yep.
Russians got pissed about that because, like, the Russians do not, like, they hate anytime the U.S. like interferes in another country.
Well, aren't we still back? Well, it's still kind of a proxy war in Syria,
it's
right?
everyone forget. Yeah, it's that started 20.
We're back in the rebels, and Russia's back in the government.
Yeah, the Assad. Yeah, that's still going on, and the Saudi Arabia is backing another group. Iran's backing the Assad government with Russia, and then Hezbollah's with them. The U.S. We're trying to, like, 'cause I don't know. Again, with my history nerds, like, we've done this so many times, we never learn. Like Afghanistan, we did it, like with the Mujahideen. Because they were fighting the Soviets. We're like, oh yeah, let's kill some Russians. And then the Mujahideen became the Taliban, and now look what that's happening. And then you can say Afghanistan's just like South Vietnam. Like, how long are we going to stay there? And whenever we leave, it's going to collapse just like South Vietnam.
It just leaves a power vacuum.
Yep.
Yeah. And we don't want Russia to have that power vacuum. We want to have it.
Yeah.
So it's just a constant.
And
we're not gonna leave.
the Russians hate Afghanistan because it's still pretty close to their border, and they're naturally suspicious of everything we do because, again, there's a lot of feelings and emotions that were in the Cold War. You can't erase 46 years of that hostility between us.
Dude, in my opinion, the Cold War has never ended.
No way it has. Because you look at everything they've done, like, Putin's done. Putin wants as much of the old Soviet Union as he can. He's invaded, basically. Through a proxy, has invaded Ukraine. Ukraine's split between, like, east and west, essentially. Even though they literally annexed Crimea, a country hasn't been annexed since Austria and, like, from Germany, like 1936, and nothing's happened from that. They invaded parts of.
No, I'm just gonna pull it down.
Oh, sorry. They invaded parts of Georgia, the country. And that used to be part of the old Soviet Union, so.
Putin's been a player for a while, too. He was like I believe he was a spy for the KGB.
Yeah,
right?
you used to be like.
Putin's a badass.
Yeah, like, you have to, like, he is, like, you have to kind of admire him. Like, look at everything he's done. Like, he isn't awful. Like, he's killed people, he's killed reporters, but, like, he gets the game.
Dude,
you have to give him that.
Before Photoshop existed, he was having people photoshopped out of like pictures. Like, people that used to work for him, that basically, like, he would have executed, they would have, like, photo professionals in the days of, like, film development go over and, like, remove them.
Wow.
It's crazy.
He's like a judo black belt.
Yeah, he is.
Literally, he would fuck Trump up.
Yep.
There's a picture of him shirtless riding a horse with, like,
that.
a gun.
One of my favorite Putin stories as I read about is Angela Merkel, who's the Chancellor of Germany. She is, like, a severe phobia of dogs. And one of their first meetings
Putin loves dogs.
Yeah, he loves dogs. So obviously he knows that she's afraid of dogs. He knows everybody's dirty secrets, probably. He brings his dog into the meeting, the room, like a closed room, and, like, the look of absolute terror in Angela Merkel's face, like, watching the dog. She's, like, terrified of dogs. He's brought the dog into this meeting, like, could have been like some negotiation for, like, a trade deal or something. It's like, it's such a power move. He's like, oh, you're afraid of dogs? Well, here's my, like, my giant, like, Russian Mastiff that looks like a black bear, probably.
Dude, I literally just was watching 2 days ago videos of Putin, like, rolling around with his puppies. And, like, it literally, you're like, oh, like, he's a good guy.
Such a nice guy.
But, like, no.
Meanwhile, he just ordered some, like, British reporter to be assassinated from some story he ran on him, probably.
Wow. While we're talking about international politics, I actually brought you a little gift.
You did?
Yeah, because you're a super capitalist, and I just wanted to give you an Israel supporting scum.
Wow. I'm very, like, okay, so I'm going to put this on. I support the state of Israel. I am also in favor of a two-state solution if this ever comes back to haunt me. I'm just going to say that. I believe Palestine should be their own individual country, but Israel also should be defended. You don't like Israel?
I don't know, man. It seems like our little Pepe.
Again, it all comes down to history, and, like, there's a lot of history there. And
dude, absolutely.
It will take probably, I don't even know if this will be solved in our lifetime.
You could not just solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
There's a lot of this, like, raw emotion that is built up in that will not subside.
Trump will do it, man. I believe
him. Again, one of my biggest, Jared Kushner. I hate him. I want to be on the record right now. His son-in-law,
okay.
Like the most idiotic person. Let alone, like, if all his application to be a government employee. First of all, he has no business in government. He's Trump's son-in-law, and, like, his only accomplishment to, like, date is, like, he bought a newspaper in New York. He like it doesn't prove out like John Oliver
I thought
did.
you meant like a single newspaper.
Oh no, like a newspaper company. So like not even like it's like about one. Here, look.
Newspapers aren't even a thing anymore.
He probably has an assistant go get his newspapers, probably. But John Oliver did this thing to show how dumb Jared Kushner is that he thought it was a good idea to get into the real estate market in 2008. Just if you can remember what was going on in the country in 2008, is that just show like, and then his government like applications, all his disclosure forms. It's like I've never seen someone be like, oh, I forgot to like mention that yes, I have like such and such bank account here. He's such a liar. And Trump's like has given him like he's in like on the committee for like Middle East peace or whatever. He's supposed to solve that. He's had trips to like Iraq, Israel, like to like secure like a 2-state solution. He just puts way too much trust in this like 30-something-year-old kid that just married his daughter.
Dude, people loved Trump because he didn't seem like a politician, but Trump is one of the most classical politicians. Like, he just like,
it's
let's
like
trade. Like,
it's like a weird thing. Like he wants like the Trump family to be like a royal family almost. He's got his daughter, his sons, his son-in-law. Like he likes that idea of like a American like imperial family,
a well-to-do family.
Yeah. Yep.
Wasn't Melania like a fucking porn star?
I don't
like,
know. Melania? I don't know.
She was a model, but she is the first lady of the United States to have a nude photo shoot.
Really?
I believe so.
We'll put those on the screen.
Well, Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was almost a first lady with JFK. So.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
Close.
Dude, what do you think about?
I love everything. Yeah, I'd defend it, even though there's like very valid arguments against his presidency. He slept with like an East German spy. I think I always like
she loves Trump.
No, I always laugh at those like things on Twitter. It goes like if you see like sometimes her like first lady account favorites some like tweet that's like shitting on Trump, and like someone's like notices it like, hey, like literally Melania Trump liked this tweet that's like, Donald Trump is a dumbass or something. It goes like Melania Trump likes this and has like the check mark.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't think she like. I felt really bad. Remember when she gave that speech, and it was like copied from like Michelle. Like I don't think she had anything to do with it. Like. She can speak pretty good English. Like she can speak actually like a lot of language. She can speak like fluent Italian, French. She's from Slovenia, and I'm pretty sure they have their own language, Slovenian. I don't know. Sorry, Slovenia, if I'm wrong. Slavic, yeah, something like. But she's smart. Like she is kind of, like you have to admit, like to be able to speak more than like 2 languages is pretty hard.
It's an impressive task.
But I felt really bad for her because I honestly did think someone just gave her like, hey, Melania, this is what you're going to be. She might have made a few edits, but she had no idea what Michelle Obama said. And I felt really bad for that. But I think she's with Trump definitely for the money. Like, just look at like.
I saw a meme.
What
once.
Is there like? Do you think Donald Trump
got that good
do you think?
Dick, dude.
Oh,
dude, I saw a meme once that was like, it was a picture of Melania like with a bunch of mathematical equations around her, and she's trying to like she's looking like she's trying to solve them, and it's like when you just wanted a sugar daddy. And
yes,
you
I've
have
seen
to be
that all the
first
time.
Lady to the president of the United States.
Oh yeah,
literally, dude.
I bet she was like, oh, I can be the like wife of someone running for president. That could be like a good idea for a book. And then I wanted like what was going through her head when like those results came back on November 8th. Oh, she's probably like, holy shit. Her dad like was used to like work for the Soviet Union too. Like her dad was like an avid communist, and I think he's still alive too. It's a fun fact.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, like it's a little hush hush.
Now, what do you think of like communist? Like, you're clearly very much more of a capitalist than a communist, but do you think that like we can mediate between the two and find a more like?
No, I'm all in favor of the Cold War.
Really?
Yeah. No, not.
I was like,
bring it back. Bomb Cuba. No, I don't know. Has it ever worked?
No. And I guess if you call like hunter-gatherer societies communist, maybe. Small scale, like if us three lived in the woods, like we would be perfectly communist.
No, I'd be selfish. You don't remember what Mike? Remember how Mike called me
over
a quote from Michael
jacket.
McGloin? Michael McGloin called me a Machiavellian prick once. That's how he describes me. So yeah, I'll just tell you, do not trust me on a deserted island. I will I'll sabotage everyone and
he's got like a sharpened piece of glass and he's like, everyone stand back.
Why? Who bashed in Mike's skull in the middle of the night? I'm like, oh no, maybe it was a coconut. Blood all over my hands.
Mike McGloin, we love you, buddy. If you're listening,
yeah, please, Mike needs
shout out.
We can distort your voice and hide because you work for the government. I won't say how or where, but. come on the show, Mike.
Let us just say that this podcast completely and accurately represents all of Mike McGloin's personal opinions about the U.S. government.
Michael McGloin fully endorses all of us. Just kidding. No, he doesn't. I don't want to get him in trouble.
We kid. Come on, Trump. Don't fire us.
Dude, now you mentioned that you'd seen a John Oliver episode the other day. What do you think about John Oliver?
I love. See, again, as someone that's like I wouldn't say I'm conservative, I'm like moderate Republican. I love John Oliver's episode. I love Bill Maher because John Oliver like covers more real news stories than like any other news like company, and Bill Maher has like intellectuals, experts, and like people come on his show just like for like I love like debates and like watching them debate, and like at the end of the day he's like Bill Maher will like shake your hand and be like, yep, like I think you're a fucking idiot or something, but like he's still civil. Like he lets people like come on that like he knows like they're the complete opposite viewpoint of him, and like they just let like they like for this like they for 30 minutes though they just talk and whatever they want.
That's what all the left and the right have to talk, dude. You
Yeah,
can't
this
just,
is like I think part of our generation is really bad with this. Like our
Yeah.
generation, like they don't listen. Like they listen to someone's arguments only to like respond. They don't listen to like listen. They're like, oh, like no, like
They listen for the buzzwords.
yeah, and they just like they like think they're like, and our generation is pretty like liberal, and it's just like you know, it's all the college campus, like they have someone that like comes to their school that they don't agree with, and they flip a shit.
Nazi.
Like it's just like it's the you have the one, yeah, you can call Trump a fascist and all that stuff, but like there's just as many like those ugly parts of humanity in the left. Like you look at like Stalin, like far left, you know, you can like idolize Che Guevara and like what's his face that just died, Castro, all you want, but like they fucking like there's no free press in Cuba. There's still no free press in Cuba. You don't even have access to the internet, pretty sure, in Cuba still.
Something that I heard the other day is steel manning. Are you guys familiar with the fallacy of straw manning?
Yeah.
Where like you build up like a shitty version of someone's argument just to knock it down.
Yep.
But like it's a much more intellectually truthful and honest thing where you build up someone's argument as clearly and as poignantly as you can, and you actually even add to it. Like if you didn't represent it as good as I think you could have, like I can even add to your argument and say this is what this person says, and now you try to attack it, and that is true. That is the spirit of debate, man. We need more of that, and not just like being like, oh, all conservatives want is just like to shoot guns and drink beer and eat cheeseburgers. Like that's not the truth, man. These people have they have valid points.
Dude, absolutely. And I agree because I've fallen victim to that many times before. Like I can recall so many events in my past where I've just seen articles or videos that have been strictly from the left or strictly from the right, and I just take it for fact. But you have to look at it critically and realize that people have an agenda to push, and they're going to try to sway you in their direction. So you have to be mindful of that and just keep an open ear to both sides. Like I love actually listening to both sides of a debate and trying to find the middle ground. Sometimes there is no middle ground, but most of the time the truth exists there.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit, how you said you came to school and like you were pretty liberal and you've kind of like came more to like the center. I was kind of the opposite. I was like, came from a Catholic high school and pretty conservative house. I was more conservative, definitely coming to Bridgewater. But like you changed. Like you have to be an open mind. Like there were some things like I was just like, especially like growing up Catholic, I was like, oh, gay marriage, like no way, like it's traditional marriage.
I was
just like, and then all of a sudden he's like I changed on that. Like I've, what else? Like there's plenty of things that like I've changed my mind. It's like it's okay to like change your mind, admit you're wrong, and like change your position. Like we even sometimes give grief to politicians for that. Like they're never supposed to like they call it like flip flopping.
Yeah, flip flop.
Like why is that bad? Like okay, like they can change their mind on something, like big deal.
Like a liberal, like a Democratic, like congressman could never cross the aisle and talk. And, like, draft a bill with the conservatives.
Well, like that's something that's something like I know from like studying history and like political. Like it used to not be like that. It used to all like it used to be like obviously like a boys' club, but like they'd go out and like drink all the time, and like like a lot of the politicians like live in DC and they like mingle, so like they had good relationships. A lot of like people say now in like the modern kind of DC with cable news, like how that's just like you go on like a show just to snipe at somebody, and like now with Twitter, like it's kind of embarrassing I think when you see like senators and like congressmen tweeting at each other being like so and so, like petty. It's just so it's so stupid, and just like
Like, you guys are supposed to be setting the example.
I think I'm in favor of like parliamentary democracy. Whatever, like however many percentage of the vote you get that many seats in parliament. I think we need that. Like the party of like like the bad, like you guys could form your own party, like the bad party. And
the bad party.
You say you get like 7% of the national vote. You get like certain number of seats in parliament.
So Democrats are blue, Republicans are red. What's our color?
What
Camouflage.
Yeah, it's just like fuck the system. We don't believe in one
Real
distinct
tree.
color.
That would be amazing, dude. The bad party. We're taking this shit nationwide.
A camouflage tie.
We need to start. I'll start investing in badges and like signs for you guys. We'll start. You guys start writing a party platform for 2020.
Win it for the people and for the recreation of shooting our guns.
All right, so what are we legalizing? What is our party legalizing?
All right, so what's been legalized? Like gambling and pot is legal.
Full federal legalization of pot.
Full.
Okay,
Right off
so
the
yeah.
bat.
International legalization.
What else?
Legalization of pot in the United States and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico.
I don't know. The president of the Virgin Islands is he's a douche about that stuff. I don't know.
Fuck.
What else are you for? God. What do you want? What do you want out of this country?
What am I on?
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?
I want every man, woman, and child in this country on psychedelic mushrooms right now.
I want one out of every
That'd be like-
5 dudes kissing.
That could be a movie, like a weird psychedelic version of The Purge. Like one day a year, like in the U.S., it's legal to do psychotropic drugs.
It's not even legal. It's forced.
You have to.
We're on the same wavelength.
What would happen? Oh my god!
Yeah. Trip for peace.
I'd
Drafting our
barricade
campaign
myself in
speech.
the basement. Still, I'd be afraid to go outside.
Like people just running around.
Crazy
tie-dye.
people in like bath salts, like eating someone's face off. They'd be like, "Sorry, it's that one night a
Dude,
year."
no, there would be orgies everywhere.
God.
Tons
Again,
of
I'd still hide. I wouldn't be able to handle that.
Group sex. I feel like that's something our species lost. We're very like closed off now.
I should like the Romans and like the Greeks that
Bathhouses, dude.
do it in bathhouses.
We need, dude.
Like full hedonism.
the bad
I remember
houses.
that just reminded me of a story. I went to Pompeii and I studied abroad in Italy, so I took an art history class and we had to go to Pompeii for like a class. So we took like the bus down, and like it's a fully intact like Roman city, pretty much. Like obviously like, there's like no roofs because like everything collapsed. So there's like a fully intact bathhouse that we walked in. You know, like looking around at like all the frescoes, like, oh, this is so cool, like this is thousands of years old. And then like my professor like gets up and I starts explaining like what this was. She was like, yes, like there's a lot of like sex parties and like orgies that occur here. I'm just like looking around, I was like, is there like is there like beautifully preserved like just like fluids everywhere? Like this is gross.
A ton of cum in that
Like,
corner.
yeah, like this is just like unsanitary. I'm gonna get some like ancient like STDs, but I'm just walking around here.
I found a fossilized condom.
Used to be sheepskin. Oh Jesus!
It wasn't sheepskin, it was sheep's intestines that they used.
Oh, even better.
Shout out to
gross
Pompeii
is
if you have a
that?
chance to go to Pompeii,
I would
because
love
it's
to.
starting to like erode from all.
Really?
Yeah, they don't know how to like keep it. They have a section of the city which they haven't like unearthed yet because they know like I don't know like when it was just like 1940s it was discovered, but it's like the weather and stuff is starting to have like an effect on like the buildings that are there. So if you ever have a chance to go, it's like the coolest place ever.
I would love to go to Italy and just like Europe in general.
It's a cool place.
I've never really traveled outside the United States, and that's something that I really want to change soon.
Yeah, I was lucky. I got to study abroad. Bridgewater, I got to study abroad my second semester junior year. I went to Rome for 5 months, and I got to travel a lot.
Oh, that's sick.
Dude, once you get over there, it's just so easy.
Yeah, see,
I remember you just snap. You'd be like,
Oh,
bought the ticket here.
it was
Like-
the best time ever. Because like obviously I had classes. I took like 5 courses. I had like I said, an art history class, which was
pretty heavy load.
Yeah, because I didn't want to fall behind because I still like I had that like I need to graduate in like 4 years. So I didn't want to fall behind. So I took like 3 poli-sci classes. I took American Foreign Policy, which was cool to get like an
Outside, yeah, that's
international like professor teaching that class. And I took Policies and Politics of the European Union, which is like one of the hardest classes I've ever taken. What was the third? Like like diplomacy in the United Nations, which was like taught by this really old like Italian diplomat who, honest to God, like did not teach us anything about the United Nations. He would just sit down and be like, I remember one time I was stationed in like Barcelona, and Barcelona is an amazing. And he would just like talk about like where he like did work as a diplomat, and he'd be like, oh no, like he's like no time left. Like next week we'll talk about the UN Charter. And I remember getting my final and be like, we didn't talk about any of this.
What do you think of the UN?
Oh, it doesn't
Does
work.
it need more power?
No, like you just like really like again the cynic in me, like how much like their budget is like in the billions, and like how much like people just go there to like make money and like just like mooch off that system and actually don't, like they all just sit in a circle and be like, oh yes, we condemn what's going on in Syria, and then just walk away.
Wow,
it's just like in Burma, that with that the Rodriga, I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, how the Burmese government is like forcibly removing like the Muslim population from. They've just like
I did not hear about that.
It's in, like it's kind of there's a lot of stuff that like again like the U.S. news like outlets don't really cover good stuff. I don't think, again, like it's like John Oliver and like all like the fake news people that talk about this. But yeah, like the UN just like says we condemn this, and like what does that do?
Nothing.
And like you just look at like, and also like there's like certain things that like build up, like the amount of like parking tickets the UN like diplomats owe to like the city of New York is like in the hundreds of millions of dollars. They just have their UN cars and they park wherever they want and stuff like that. I think it's just like a glorified like society where you can like go feel like you're an important guy.
Jerk.
Yeah, just like look at me, like I'm like a UN representative.
I love how the United Nations is stationed in America.
Right.
Like you would think they'd have their own like sovereign island or something that they would all like fly to and meet at.
Dude, I feel like we are moving towards like a globalized world though, so we do need some sort of world government.
No.
No?
Veto. I'm a nationalist.
You're not a globalist?
No.
Dude, what's your opinion on borders?
Again, I think it's like, yes, it sounds like a great idea. Like, oh, I have like no borders. I should be able to go wherever I want. But like, let's look at humanity. We are not responsible enough for that. Like, we are not. Our minds are not evolved enough. Like, there's always going to be more bad people that will take advantage of that type of stuff. I think. I think we're a very long way off from open borders and being a global society.
I feel like ultimately that would be such a great goal, but I do agree that I feel like we have so many people that just couldn't handle that.
Yeah. I feel like every few episodes you need me to come on because you guys are so many optimists on here, and I just listen, and I just want, like when I'm listening at work, I'm just like, no, like it's like wrong. So like every few episodes, I'll just be like your neighborhood like realist to come and be like, no, that's a fucking stupid idea.
Dude, we'd love to have you on here.
I'll call in one day, be like, Brett, did you really just say this?
Like, Brett, fucking prescribed pot nationwide. Come on.
That's not that bad of an idea. I think America could use that right now.
Brett, you can't get babies tripping on LSD. Cut it out.
Come on, man. They need to see the truth. Man.
I'd pay a lot of money to see my parents smoke.
Would you?
Yeah, like my mom again like grew up like she's one of like 6 kids, grew up in a very like, you know, upper, like she grew up like upper class but like, you know, Irish Catholic family. Like she barely even drinks. And my dad kind of just like, well, you know, obviously occasional beer, but I've never even seen my dad like tipsy. Like I was hoping at like my high school graduation party they'd let loose, but they were like, no. I think it'd be hilarious to see my mother and dad high.
It's just a very like baseline.
Because again, my dad like that generation, like especially like a former
Type A,
so
like,
even against weed. Like I remember I got into an argument about like legalizing weed with him. He's like, he did that. Remember those like ridiculous commercials we had here in Massachusetts because we had the referendum. Yeah, like he argues that and like you don't know what's like in those brownies. He's like, Dad, it's like legal now. The government is regulating. They cannot put like meth in the weed. Like he's like, no, you don't know what it's like. I'm like,
for those of you who didn't see the commercials, it's just like this little kid runs up to this like store, like window shop, and just like looks at all these like beautifully colored like sweet treats, and it's like it's a pot shop, and the mom's like, oh no, and then all of a sudden like the kid just walks at like
the other kid
an
in
adult,
her son walks.
Yeah, her other son walks
with like bongs, and she's like
Kyle,
Kyle, whatever it was. Like
he's like, Mom, and then you see like police cars in the background because it's like pure anarchy. And it's like really.
Dude, those commercials were hilarious, man. And if anything, all they did was like alienate the people who were against legalization because it showed you how like up their own asses they were, that they thought that like once weed was legalized, America would spiral into this like anarchy of just like people being stoned all day.
I've been to Amsterdam, and it's a fully functional city. Like, there's not like, I didn't see any like police officers when I visited. Like, when I studied abroad, I did a weekend in Amsterdam. It's a cool city, but like there's no like, and I was out there like late at night, and it's like still like you can walk the streets and like no crazy people come up to you, but like it's different. Like, you walk into a cafe and like there's like a menu, but it's like a chalkboard menu, but it's all like weed brands, and it's just like there's really funny. It's like, I remember the one that stuck with me the most that I read. It was called like Voices in Your Head brand. I was like, holy shit, what does that do to you? And like the guy was like, he's like, are you guys like Americans? We're like, yeah. And like he like obviously could tell that like none of us had been to Amsterdam or remotely been anything in like this setting. He's like, yeah, like he's like, I'd point you to like this list to like choose off of.
Now we're coming up on 2018. Like weed was legalized, but it was pretty much just like written in. Like there's still no shops. There's still not like, now we're coming up on the time when there's actually going to be dispensaries like actually around us.
Yeah, I know. Like they here in Massachusetts, they couldn't agree on like how much to tax it by. At first, they had some like ridiculous like over 10% like tax rate.
At 33%.
But like then but then some people like, I don't remember the exact rate, but like some people argue like the black market will still exist if you tax it really high. So like, they were kind of debating back and forth at how much they should tax it at.
People will pay up.
I don't know when like the first pot shops will open up though, because I know you can grow in your own like house. I don't know how much you can grow.
I think it's 6 plants.
But they keep like Massachusetts, like again, like you think like Massachusetts is very liberal, but like in some senses, like we can be kind of like, we keep kicking down the governor did not want it, and a lot of the legislator, like which like a vast majority is like liberal Democrats, did not want it either.
What I really don't want to see is the growing be done completely commercially and like by these corporations.
Well, that's, I think like some companies brought like a massive amount of property in Freetown or something. Freetown. Like they're building. Really? So maybe I don't. Is it true that like some massive like pot processing plant's going to be there or something?
Right smack dab in my hometown. And it's funny because we have nothing there. Like, Freetown is a ghost town. To those who don't know about it, it's like we just got like our first couple traffic lights for the first time ever. And like one of the biggest things for the longest time, the entirety of the time I lived there, the largest and biggest attraction we had was the Freetown State Forest. So people would just come to see the nothingness that was Freetown. We recently got an Amazon facility, so now there's like a big like corporate distribution center, and now we're gonna have like a big pot distribution center. So it's gonna be an interesting town.
Was your town one of the like, or any of your towns one of like they had their own little referendum after the big one in Massachusetts passed, like about weed? Like my town Medfield had a like referendum, and we like are not allowing any like distribution center like pot or no pot.
I think there's gonna be a dispensary in Holbrook.
Like so many towns after that, like again like little like, you know, a lot of like suburban towns like voted against it. Like, all right, so like if you don't want pot shops and stuff, maybe you shouldn't get the tax money then, because they're gonna still expect to get that money.
Yes, absolutely, dude.
Like I remember it was during the school year still, and I made a point of like driving back to making sure I'd make it home to vote in time for this little like referendum to vote yes. And I was like, I remember looking at the results, it was like 85% like voted in favor of banning pot shops, and like I was part of like the 5% in that voted yes.
That's crazy.
Have either of you ever been to Hempfest in Boston?
No, I'm not brave enough to do that.
It is interesting, let me tell you. I recently went like
that's the one they like do at Boston Common.
Yeah, it's actually called the Boston Freedom Rally, but there's so many people smoking weed that the cops can't do anything. Before it used to be illegal, but now it's totally legal. So
what's the rule?
It's still not legal to like
what's the rule here? Like you could do it in like the comfort of your own home, like within the bounds of your property, but like say you're the middle of Bridgewater, it's like state property, you still get in trouble.
Yeah,
I think it's like the same thing as if you were like drunk and disorderly in public.
Okay.
But everybody, you walk around, you just look at everybody, and everyone's eyes are just red as fuck. And everybody is so stoned. And I've never been in such a large crowd where everybody's high. It's like, it's very weird. Like, but it's like reversed. Awesome. Like there was not one fight. There was not like one like overdose. No one was like dying. Like, because if you even go to like a country concert, like they're literally like a drunk tank, and like kids are almost like kids are getting their stomach.
What was that concert? No, what's his name? Chance the Rapper concert. I think it was in Connecticut, Rhode Island, where like hundreds of people got arrested, and like some people had to like go get transported to the hospital, get their stomach pumped. Like, I don't know why like Americans like we have this weird like alcohol is okay, but like weed, no.
Well,
like,
I think our problem with alcohol is education, because we push these things into the shadows. There's not parents say no, alcohol's not for you till 21. Instead of saying this is what alcohol is, you can have a drink with dinner, you have this, but you don't drink too much because this. So now kids go to college and they're free and they take a knee and literally chug a bottle, chug a thing of vodka.
See all these news stories now about like frat kids dying from.
It's
like,
pop culture right now.
There's no.
Shocking.
I'd never had the urge to join a fraternity, and there's not really a big.
Not
frat,
into cults.
You're not allowed to call them frats.
Not like there's not even a huge presence here at Bridgewater. Really, they're not like really real fraternities.
It's like a shadow of what it used to be.
But like the kid from LSU, like he like they made him like chant like they're like like fraternity code, and he couldn't remember certain parts, and they like gave him like almost 100 proof alcohol, forced it on him, and like he went like put him to like bed, and he woke up and he was dead the next morning. Like there was some kids are gonna be stupid. Like I get like obviously that's abuse there, but like I guess I'm trying to remember like my elementary school, like what they taught us about like they call it like the DARE program, like
drugs are really excellent.
I don't remember what it was really called, but I'm assuming it was that. But like some kids are stupid about it. Like part of the reason why the town hates us is because Springfest, and we just like go out and like litter everywhere.
What do you think it'd be better if we could drink right on campus?
Absolutely. Bears Den used to be a bar.
Yeah, Bears Den used to be a bar. Wow. So many college campuses. Like I remember when I was visiting, like I went to like St. Anselm to look at that school when I was looking. They had like their own bar there, and like they keep like internalize it, like have like your campus police, like you can still like arrest people that get out of control, but like letting this go out, like you're never gonna stop college kids from drinking.
You're not.
Never. So I don't know.
But if we push it off into the town, then they're not drinking on campus.
Yeah.
Then our campus is clean. Yeah. Like there's not a lot of crime here. It's just everywhere around us.
Now all the residents get to pick up all the cans and smell the piss.
Remember that that walk to Oak Street?
Oh, that was
dedication. Like you would drink and pregame in your dorms, and by the time you get to Oak, you're dead sober because it's such a long walk, and you're like, I'm miserable.
Well, you literally had that was one of the only houses that didn't get robbed by the cops because it's so far off,
so remote, and like that walk. Like you'd have to pregame and then anticipate the long walk, so you'd have to have like a road soda and like make sure you didn't like finish it too quickly. You'd have to like perfectly like mathematically plan out the night going to Oak Street.
Plus, you have skimpily dressed girls walking through a dark town. Alone.
Yeah, Bridgewater has a lot. For some reason, I'm still connected to the Bridgewater email. Like I still have my Bridgewater email. There's a lot of those sexual assault things I still get. Like Bridgewater's a lot.
There was just recently one, and then the girl just totally rescinded it.
Really?
Yeah. She's like, I was raped in the dorms, and then she's like, I'm kidding.
Do they get prosecuted for making stuff up like that?
I think they just drop it. I don't know.
Which is like really fucked up because
you could like ruin someone's life by making up a story like that.
I don't think,
and then it detracts from like the real cases.
Exactly. And I don't think girls really realize how much power they hold in that. And like some girls even use it as like an out of them getting in trouble. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I was using alcohol to like cope," like or whatever. I was using alcohol to cope from being raped, or something like that. Like if they get caught, and then all of a sudden, instead of them getting in trouble for getting caught with alcohol in the dorms, they just put it off on some other kid because he raped her.
I definitely think there's still like with a masculinity, like some guy, like some guys.
Oh,
are like,
dude, there's a lot. Trust me, there's a lot.
Like in the news, that Harvey Weinstein guy, like you listen to the recordings of him,
crazy,
and like how he's like just. And how people are calling him like a sex addict. Like no, like you're a scumbag. Yeah, you're like a rapist. You're not a sex addict.
You used your position of power,
to
force women to sleep with you, so that because they were fearful they might lose their jobs if they didn't. Like that's fucked up.
Oh, and like so many people knew, like celebrities probably knew about. Like he's like a world famous movie producer, like involved in so many like productions. And like Hollywood's like for the the celebrities, it's a small town and people talk. Like people knew, and like years.
I think it's so cowardly that now all the celebrities.
Yeah, no, they're so hypocritical.
Who was the first one that came out against him?
I don't remember. Yeah, I remember just waking up one morning. It was like all over the news. I don't know how it came to it. Like from what I heard, it was some reporter for NBC was like investigating the story, and then like somehow Weinstein or his lawyers found out, like started pressuring NBC like to like drop this or we'll sue you. They dropped the story. They told the reporter to stop. The reporter got pissed, gave it to the New Yorker, and the New Yorker, because they had a recording. Like I don't know if it was the NYPD or some police department that set up that woman with the wire, but they released everything through the New Yorker, and that's how it came to a head. And it was I don't know if she was an actress or not, but apparently he had tried to like, groped her or did something, and then they told her to, go back, but wear a wire this time. And he was like, tried it again. He was like trying to get her to come into his hotel room. He was like, shut up. I'm a really powerful guy. Like I can help you out. And she's just like, no, I don't want to. And then she was like, kind of like saying, remember what you did, like trying to get as much incriminating evidence again. She's like, remember when you did this to me yesterday? And his like response was like, yeah, I do that a lot. He's like, no remorse. He's a douchebag.
Like, dude, it was literally just a standard procedure for him at this point. Like, he's so used to it that he wasn't even going to hide it. He was like, yeah, like, people sleep with me all the time for jobs. It's what happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think what's interesting is a lot of the victims feel bad. They're like, oh my God, like, I don't want to tear up his family. Like, I don't want to like, I don't know what to think of this. Like, meanwhile, they are absolutely in the right and they should just have told immediately. Right. But it's that like confliction where you're such a good person that you don't want to blow this dude's life up, even though he's being like a total asshole.
More than a total asshole. Like,
he's in trouble because it's
like using complete malintent.
Yeah, because it's like that whole Bill Cosby now. Like one person come out, now they're out. Like it's just like every day it seems like someone else has a new story about that guy.
But then again, like the same thing happened with Trump when he was elected. Like so many women came out and they were like, he sexually harassed me, like he groped me, he did this, and people were just like,
whatever happened though, because like people like, I thought they were like, didn't like some people like outrightly accuse him of like sexual assault, which is like a crime. So like, was there ever an investigation, or like they just get hushed, or like that all like that all of a sudden just like that actually,
like you said earlier, he just does. There's so much news with Trump that it just like, gets buried.
That like just I totally forgot about that. That like women like after that tape came out, like people accused him of like sexual assault.
Wait, what was the tape? The pussy grab?
They were like, he literally grabbed my pussy.
The Hollywood,
like, hey, he's the president.
The Access Hollywood tape, and then women started to like accuse him of like I think like sexual assault, which is a pretty bad crime, which can get you prison time. But like I don't remember any follow up on any of that.
Yeah. And like earlier, I don't want to like minimize like the fact that men can very easily rape women, because they can and they do.
Especially in the culture of Hollywood.
Exactly.
Like some people just want to make it big.
People can destroy you, especially someone like Harvey.
And they just like someone like because like a lot of people like they move out to California to LA, which is not a cheap place to live. They like put like all their hopes and dreams into this, and if they have even the slightest chance of making it big, they'll probably do whatever it takes. And there was just that like culture of fear, and then like how so many people enabled him.
And now there's just safety in numbers.
It was in his contract too, that it says in Harvey Weinstein's contract from whatever movie production company he works for that he cannot get fired for sexual harassment.
Really?
That's how much like foresight he either had, or like how his lawyers knew and put that in his contract.
Dude, that's insane that lawyers can just like totally like subvert the law.
It's just like, literally scum. Like why some lawyers have.
Right, you murder someone, like you can't get fired for murder.
It says it in your contract, so you can't. Like what? And the police are like, okay, it's in a contract.
I wrote it down. So it's cool.
He's on
this napkin right here.
It's crazy.
The world.
We've had a lot of fucking topics.
I know, I like that. I just like I spitballing random stuff.
I already can tell right now that this is going to be a regular episode.
Like, yeah, this has been a good one.
The Conor cast.
The Conor cast.
I'd like to have you on here
just
again.
Just like have my every few weeks come in and give you my worldly take on things.
Please keep us grounded.
This has been the longest one so far. We're an hour 45 in.
Really?
Wow.
Holy shit, it feels like it's been like 45 minutes.
Right? It just goes.
Yeah. Probably a good spot to end off.
I think so.
Yeah, we're starving your roommates upstairs, so I feel like they're going to be like...
hear them moving out there.
The angry like Jacobins like storming Versailles any second to like kill us.
Vinny's due home.
We're hungry.
Vinny has heavy footfalls.
Conor, do you have any shout outs to make?
Shout out to Mike McGloin, because I really think he needs to be part of this podcast. Shout out to the original Bridgewater crew: Brett, Pat, Devin, Alyssa, Sid. I miss it being in the real world. I definitely miss it.
Absolutely.
Shout out to the Bad Podcast.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for the shout out, dude, on our own platform.
I'll put a link in the description.
I'll put a link
Podcast.
within the podcast. A link within the link
circular
to
link.
make sure you just get trapped in here forever.
You'll never get out.
Just completely take over your computer.
Dude, Connor, thank you so much for joining us. It was been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Go Israel, right? Pro Cowboys too. Shout out to that.
Shout out Israel.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.
Out.